Hello, everybody. Welcome back for Chapter 8 of Align Your Health, entitled Mindset for Life. Now, this is the last chapter of the book, and so we're going to go through the appendices as well. But mindset is the last chapter covered, but the first essential that we have in the office. So obviously not the least of the important. In fact, for some people, it's going to be the most important because your mindset will either propel you to do something new or hold you back from doing something that you know you should or something that you need. So for a lot of us, we have to get our minds right before we can go to a chiropractor or eat the right food or, exercise the right way or at all. So mindset can arguably be the most important essential out of the 5 that we have. Just to go through here and talk about a little bit in the beginning, one thing that he says here in the bold, it says life flows from a healthy mindset. And that's pretty much what I've just touched on, is that when your mind is in a healthy place, then you will start to pursue the healthier things. Now, the next thing he talks about in here is stress. Now, stress, there are good and bad forms of stress. So stress he defines as anything that will take you away from a homeostatic state. Now, homeostasis or homeostatic state, that is the state of well-being. So an example of good stress might be having a baby born or a child born into your family, doing an exercise or hitting a workout. An example, I don't think I need to give too many examples of bad stress. Everybody knows those, work, finances, so on down the line. But each of those, good or bad, can affect you in your homeostatic state or your homeostasis to be either a good or a bad thing, depending on how you respond to it. But the one thing about being stressed out is that it does release the stress hormone in your body, cortisol, which is going to tell your body to store fat and to do basically all the wrong things. Now, this is basically left over from when we would have, like, as he says, the tiger chasing days, where, you're being chased by an animal or you're chasing something. And at that particular moment, you don't want your body, burning fat and going through all of the processes that you needed to go through while it's resting, because it's in a different state. You're in a fight or flight state, not a rest or digest state. So being stressed out will release these stress hormones that will cause you to have an increased hunger, store fat, and do all of the things that most people don't want to do chronically throughout their day. Most people want to be able to burn fat, build muscle, be able to go in and out of a stress state. But when you are in a constant stressed out state, cortisol will do that to your body to where it makes it harder to do that. Next thing he talks about in here is sleep. And what he says is that sleep is non-negotiable. 100% agree with that. So if you're under the age of 60, minimum of 7 hours, somewhere between 7 to 8 hours is what is the recommendation for you. Sleep is so vitally important. It's not just getting you well rested for the next day. It's actually, you should look at it as the beginning of your day. There's a lot of important processes that happen in your body when you're sleeping, and that's the main reason that we give you those sleep aids or those rolls in your home care kit, because your nervous system is the only system in your body that speeds up when you sleep. Everything else slows down. So it makes sense to have it in an optimal position while you're asleep. But while you're sleeping, your body is doing all of the process. It's repairing the muscles that you tore down from the day, previous day. You're building hormones again. Your body's detoxing. I mean, if you've ever thought about it, have you ever been a little bit too obsessive about weight loss and you've weighed yourself in the morning and then maybe weighed yourself after a workout, you might have noticed that there isn't a whole lot of change on the scale. And it's because your body does that change when you're sleeping. It goes through and repairs you, and it does all the things that you needed to do, all the good processes while you're sleeping. So putting your nervous system in the best position possible is going to be a no-brainer. And so, like I said, 7 hours is going to be the minimum that you get, and it's non-negotiable. So, but the other thing that he touches on here is that if getting too much sleep can also be a bad thing, can also, cognition problems, make you moody and that sort of thing. So having too much or too little, it can, of anything can be a bad or a good thing. Something else that's in here he's talking about with sleep is regulating your screen time. Reason being is because electronics emit blue light. And blue light disrupts your sleep pattern or your circadian rhythm in short. There's a lot of science out there that backs that up. And, we could go into it in more detail, but the long of the short is to try to avoid electronics half an hour before you go to bed. Something we talk about is to turn lights off, turn electronics off. You can use candles to see around your home because they emit a different type of light. If you're still having trouble going to sleep, you can use lavender oil, take a shower or a bath with lavender, or diffuse it into your home that way. Lavender is a calming oil. And so that's the reason I mentioned that. Some people do have a lot of problems of calming down. Beyond that, if you are still having problems calming down, it could be a problem with your adrenal glands. So go through, he's talking about mindfulness and gratitude and joy and having a positive mindset. Obviously, those things are going to be important. Expressing gratitude and joy is going to be, part of the reward center of the brain. So you find it, similar to laughter or, having a great time with a good friend. It does wonders for your brain. So next, we're going to move into the appendices. Now, the appendices A and B tie into the food section of the book where he's outlining the core plan and the advanced plan. The core plan is going to be for everybody. It's restrictive in sugar and flour, but it has lots of great fruit, fat, healthy sources of meat that you can go and look at that. Now, the advanced plan is going to tell you what to take away from the core plan in order to make it more, I don't want to say beneficial, but more or less for somebody who has a health concern, whether you're trying to lose weight, change cholesterol or triglyceride numbers, cancer, ADHD. It's more restrictive in, the fruits, the type of sugars that you get from fruits, even more so restrictive in grains. And it's going to be really geared for somebody who has a specific health goal in mind or somebody who just wants to be the healthiest they can. It does parallel, keto and paleo and those sorts of eating plans. So just in case you're not as familiar. The next one that he talks about in Appendices C is navigating the grocery store. I'm not going to spend too much talking about this one because we talked about it when I did the shop with the doc video a few weeks back. Appendix D is probably one of my favorite because it's about kitchen essentials. And he talks about the different things that would be helpful or useful or even needed in your kitchen. Now, my wife will tell you that, I do often get annoyed with the amount of small appliances that we have in our house. However, they all serve a purpose. And when we have them and we need them, they're fantastic. So things that are in there, he's talking about things like a spiralizer. So if you're somebody who loves pasta, but you're trying to lose weight and you're having a hard time getting away from it, you can get a zucchini and you can spiralize that and make, pasta or veggie noodles out of that. Crock pots, pressure cookers, all things that he outlines in Appendix D. Appendix E, simple swaps for everyday life. We also touched on this during the shop with the doc, and he mentioned, simple swaps for, toothpaste and detergents and soaps, that sort of thing. Appendix F is an exercise reference guide. So this is going to tell you more in depth about how to do the burst training that we spoke about in the very early on. And then beyond that, G is meal planning for success, and he's giving you tips in there on what are going to be some of the best ways to help you succeed in meal planning and basically feeding yourself and your family throughout the week. Let me take a moment and read through my comments here. I know, see, there's a question. So Kelly says, other than the rules, what else can help you sleep other than meds if you toss and turn all night? So tossing and turning goes back to some of the recommendations. I hope I hit some of this for you earlier, Kelly, with, turning the lights out, using candles, the lavender oil, not using electronics as much. If you're still having problems tossing and turning, the next question I would ask you would be, how old is your bed and how old is your pillow? Our recommendation on a bed is to replace it every 8 years. Depending on how much you use it, or if you're a bigger person or whatnot, or if it was used, you may need to replace it sooner than that. Pillows are going to be a recommendation of 2 years. So another thing that goes into that is the position that you sleep in. Side sleepers, get a side sleeping pillow. You need to know the measurement between the side of your shoulder and your ear so that you can buy a pillow that's roughly that thickness. I always recommend going to Amazon and putting in the search engine, side sleeper pillow. You'll get over 1,000 responses for that. So the other thing I wanted to touch on, guys, is that I hope you enjoyed these videos and I hope you got something out of it. If you did, I would highly encourage you to pick up a copy of the book if you don't have one, because there were just so much information in here that I just couldn't include into the video, because each one of these videos would have easily been twice as long if I had touched on everything that I thought was good or relative or been beneficial for you guys. The other thing that I want to touch on and tell you about is that with this being the last chapter of the book, I'm sure some of you guys have had some thoughts about videos that you would like to see. So if there are any video topics that we haven't covered as an office, any of the doctors, feel free to leave a comment or let us know at your next appointment about any video ideas that you have that you think are relevant that you'd like to see. And we'll do our best to accommodate you. So with that being said, guys, thanks for tuning in to the last chapter here. I hope you guys are having a great night. Have a happy and safe 4th of July and take care. God bless.